G'day and welcome back to the channel. My name's Grant Frost and I'm an Australian musculoskeletal physiotherapist who's really passionate about trying to better understand the root underlying cause of common aches, pains, injuries and dysfunction. And in today's video, I want to answer the very simple question of do imbalances actually matter? And I've been inspired to make this video when I was browsing through the Threads app. And for those unaware, Threads is essentially, I believe, Instagram's counter to Twitter. And I came across a post by someone that had the unpopular opinion that asymmetry and minor imbalances are normal, especially if they're not causing pain or impairment. And they also mentioned that from their perspective, we as humans are built to tolerate these imbalances and can adapt to them pretty well. I think the concept of whether imbalances are important is a really interesting topic of conversation. And for me, as someone who has been a physiotherapist over the last 20 years, I feel like I have developed a very respectful, reasonable, and potentially nuanced answer to that question of whether imbalances are normal and important. I would in no way say that an asymmetry or a minor imbalance, as the original post described, shouldn't be considered normal, common, yes, but certainly not optimal or ideal. And the reason for this is because we often look at things like imbalances under the umbrella of pain. And one of the things that we're really understanding a lot about pain over the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years is that pain isn't a simple phenomenon. It is complicated, it's complex, it's multifactorial, but it just means that we can't use that one factor to describe why something has become painful. And whether we're talking about trying to understand why someone is painful, why someone may eventually become painful, or even if we put the pain conversation aside and just talk about optimal function and performance of a human being, clinically as a physiotherapist, the only way that we can understand whether your asymmetry or imbalance is meaningful to you is to improve that and then see what, if anything, changes. And again, this becomes more obvious when there's pain involved. If somebody has lower back pain and we observe that when testing your gluteal muscle strength, you have a genuine difference, albeit minor, between one side and the other, and we then go to work on strengthening that subpar side, we need to pay attention to what effect that has on the things that we're trying to affect. And if your back pain suddenly improves because you've brought up the strength of that imbalanced glute, then you can mount a very strong case that that was meaningful to you. If you didn't have pain, but you're someone who likes to run or someone who likes to lift heavy weights in the gym, and again you find that same glute appears weaker than the other side, and just by strengthening that gluteal muscle alone and bringing it up to the other side, you find your efficiency improves and you've optimized your running mechanics just that little bit more, then again we've just understood that that imbalance was not normal, albeit common, and that by improving that imbalance we have optimized your mechanics further, allowing you to perform better. So for me, clinically as a physiotherapist, I would argue that every single imbalance in your body is meaningful until proven otherwise. We don't just want to assume that something is normal because that gives us the impression that it may not be important and meaningful to you. Coming back to this original post, yes, our body is an amazingly effective adaptive machine. If you have a tight muscle somewhere, your brain and your nervous system will very quickly find a way to work around that dysfunction so that you can still complete whatever task it is that you need to complete. Our body is certainly built to adapt to anything and everything that's in front of us. But if what's in front of you is dysfunctional, it's weaker than it should be, it's tighter than it should be, it's more restricted than it should be, your body will just as effectively adapt around that, potentially setting anything around that up for dysfunction if given enough time, exposure, and repetition. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned as a physiotherapist over the course of my career so far is that most of the symptoms that stand out are most commonly a consequence of something else somewhere else. And when we take a big enough step back and when we try and solve pain and dysfunction, those relatively obscure and hidden imbalances are the very things that ask something somewhere else to fail over time. So if we don't value them and we don't learn to look for them and more importantly, treat them and then retest to see what's changed, then we will consistently perpetuate this idea that what you are dealing with that has gone wrong is the problem in isolation. And while minor asymmetries and imbalances may genuinely never be bad enough or impactful enough to send you on the course to eventually become painful and injured, for most people, that conversation isn't as important as how optimal and normal normal functioning your body becomes. So if you do not have pain, but you care about the quality of how you do the things that you do, whether it be at the gym, whether you're an athlete that values performance, or whether you're just someone who's getting a little bit older and you feel like age is catching up with you, these differences between sides are the low-hanging fruit that you can try and optimize to see what impact that has on the things that you care about. So ultimately, if you're wondering whether your asymmetries or imbalances are meaningful to you and the things that you care about, I would categorically urge you to respect them, to go looking for them, and also see what you can do to improve them, to see what impact it has on the things that you care about. If a part of your body is observably tighter, stiffer, weaker than the other side, that's something to take note of. Sure, we can compare it to the age and gender expected normative data to get a rough guide of how close to that you might be, but the broader context of what you do for work, the things that you do for leisure, also need to be factored into this conversation to try and interpret what that information actually means for you. But at the end of the day, I find the best way to consistently answer the question of whether something is normal or abnormal is to work on improving that and then see what meaningful impact it has on the relevant objective measures and tests and activities that are meaningful to you. Because again, if we continually perpetuate this idea that just because something doesn't hurt, that it's not important, then we will consistently miss the bigger picture that helps us better understand why common aches, pains, injuries, and dysfunctions occur. So as always, I genuinely hope that that was insightful. Please let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on the imbalances being normal versus abnormal debate? If you found this helpful, please consider leaving a like on the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. But as always, thank you again for watching. I hope to see you next time.